Good evening. How are you doing? It's a lovely sunny evening here in Dublin, and hope you're doing okay. Um, Obviously, I'm Really. This is my channel, but I just thought it'd be nice to go live and share a couple of thoughts and put it out there to offer space for questions and answers. I've sent this out to my email list and a couple of places where I hang out online on Discord, various communities. So we'll see who shows up. Um, but either way, we're going to be um, getting through some thoughts that I put together about space for creativity, and any questions that come up around that as well. So I'm just adjusting all the things, making sure everything's running. Looks like YouTube is up and running. So um, here we go. I do have a little presentation made, and I'll work through that, and I'll share my screen when we get to that point as well. But just really wanted to start thinking about why are you here tonight? Why are you here watching this? Why are you watching this video? And my experience of why people come to watch my content is often because they are frustrated in their creative endeavors for some reason. Whether that's they can't find the time to do it, or there's kind of blockages in the way, there are so many things going on in their life that it's just so busy, but also maybe there's a little voice inside their head that's kind of taking them down a peg or two, making them not kind of confident in their skills, in their talent, in their ability, or that it's not a worthwhile pursuit. It's a waste of time, or it's not for something that's going to like pay the bills. So we're going to address all of those things tonight, and just have a look at it. So if you've got any questions, just fire them in the chat. And like I said in the chat, put in the chat where you're watching it from as well. I'll just be looking over here because I've got a couple of screens going on, so don't mind me. I'll try and pay attention to you. So really specifically around that idea of you're here because you're feeling frustrated creatively, and you want to move on. You know that there must be a way forward, because you see people who are making time, making the connections, and pushing into their creativity. They're putting out music, they're putting their photos up, they're having them printed, making books, selling them, writing books, writing scripts, having those put in front of publishers and directors, and having things actually made and put out into the world. And you feel there's something there for you as well, but you haven't been able to make it happen. I'm here to help. That's the premise of this channel, and that's what I do as a creative guide. I help people to nurture those projects through to creation, and sometimes that's over a long period of time. Often it takes that long because we have these voices in our head that are running us down and telling us that maybe it's not worthwhile. Alrighty, let me see if I can fire up the screen. So we want to do that. No, we don't want to do that. Let me start okay. Now we want to do that. And I'm going to put my little face over here in the corner as well. Okay, so you can see me and you can see the deck. That's great. Okay, so like I've titled this the space for creativity, and a question and answers. So any of your questions around creativity, I'd love to hear them. I've already said why you're here. You're here because it's important for you to connect to your creativity. It's important to you to connect to your creativity. It's something that has been frustrating for you in the past, but something that you really want to dive into and make worthwhile. And not necessarily that it's going to be a full-time job for you, but you just want to be able to get that drive inside you and turn it into something, whether that's pen and paper, whether that's writing and recording music, whether that's photography, or it's picking up a paintbrush and getting art done and out into the world. Just helping you to figure out how to do that and where to go with it next. So Anyway, that's what we're going to dig into. That's why you're here. I'm here because this is my channel and this is what I do. This is what I'm passionate about. If you watched any of my videos, you know that I love creativity. I love hearing the stories. I love working with artists and creatives all around the world. I'm working with people from the States all the way to Australia and in Europe as well. So happy to spread across time zones wherever you're available. Let's dive in and have a look at just a couple of things that come up regularly as creative blocks. I'm just going to dive into two of them. Oh, we'll get to this in a second. We'll just run through some of the stuff we're going to cover in this. Okay, so we'll have a look at creative blocks. I'm going to share what I believe about space for creativity. Some of you might have signed up to my starter kit, and that is a digital detox to help you to put down your phone and make a little bit more headspace. But we'll go into a little bit then as well. And then we're going to have a look at the voices, or have a listen to them, or at least unpack what they might be saying to you. And I'm only saying that from a perspective of from the people I've talked to. This is a thing that comes up again and again. And you might recognize some of those voices, some of the things that you're hearing. And then we'll have a quick look at just a couple of frameworks to help you to get through to finish your work. And at the end, if there's any questions in the chat, we'll dive into those. And then I'll give you a couple of tips on what we can do next. Okay, let's just straight into it. Understanding creative blockages. Okay, there are so many ways in which we can get blocked up around creativity, but I'm just going to jump into a couple of them that I see quite regularly. Okay, so the first one is the gear and learning loop. Okay, so if you're interested in a field where particularly there's a lot of gear, so I'm thinking photography, video, music, where there's new gear coming out all the time. And if you were in music, last weekend was a gear fest. Everyone was at Superbooth in Berlin, and all the companies were releasing new products, and YouTube is blown up about it. So they're all trying to vie for our attention and tell us that the latest, greatest, newest piece of kit is going to solve all our studio and music making issues, and maybe that's what we need. And somewhere along the way, we kind of buy into that. And then it's also closely connected to like the learning loop. So if I was to learn a new product or take another course on the software that I use, or dive into a new modality of like playing keys or piano, or maybe learning a new technique in painting, or stepping into a new area, a new realm of, oh, maybe I'll learn, I'll go back to class for drawing, for watercolor. Or it might be that you take another writing course, whether that's online, whether that's in person. We just continually go, I need another thing for me to be complete so that I'm ready to make a start and to make a move. And while there's some merit in there, a lot of this is actually it's procrastination. It's not realizing that we have potentially put years into building the skills and building up the toolkit to be able to make the work now. And I've said it before, but often when you go to art school or you go to music school, everything is reduced back to the fundamentals, pared back to the basics. And that's part of what we can do ourselves to help us get over this. It's really interesting. The video I put up on Tuesday, myself and my friend Paul were at a gig, Rival Consoles was playing, and I took the photo that's on the thumbnail just with my iPhone. And I only took 3 photos. I actually think it's a really good shot. He was like, oh my goodness, that's an amazing photo. Like, how did you do that? And I think sometimes we can really overcomplicate how simple it is for us to engage in our practice and get something worthwhile out of it. I love that photo. I'm probably going to print it up. And I just think there's something really simple. It just captures a moment. It captures the vibe of that evening. And I just shot it with my iPhone. Really basic. But I think with years of using cameras and understanding how to frame things and the lighting and all this sort of thing, I'm like, okay, I was able to grab that. And I didn't need to bring a big camera and lenses and everything. Um, and I think that there's just sometimes it's helpful to go back to basics and think about that. And in the same way with writing, a pen and a piece of paper, and using simple words or short paragraphs if you're used to writing long paragraphs, or vice versa, to just flip things around as opposed to getting into, I need all this editing software and I need all these plugins to make the music. Um, Often something that's good will sound good even if it's just basic. Maybe that's just on a piano, or maybe that's just line drawing with pencil or a pen. Maybe that's back to just using a really restricted palette of colors if you're painting. Um, and that can just be a really good way to start um, freeing us up to be able to move on and move forward. That's one of the blockages. Okay. And then another one that I've seen a lot is failed attempts at scheduling things. And I think this comes down to I think there's a lot of reasons for this. So you think, okay, Saturday morning, I'm going to make this time, I'm going to do it. But inevitably something else pops up and can get in the way. Some sort of maybe family issue or emergency, maybe one of the kids is sick and you need to help them. Maybe you forgot to do something and you got to run around and do that, and that time can easily get eaten away at. Um, and I think and I think that in our busy lives, it can be really, things can slip and slide, and we need to be able to be flexible. And that's one of the things that I see happening again and again. People come back like, oh, I didn't make it to that, and this didn't happen, and oh, I didn't get to that. And I think there's some fundamental things going on there, that we can talk about. But what I really wanted to share this idea is what I believe. Okay. And if you signed up for my email list, you know that I've called it Space for Creativity. And I've been working through a kind of a framework to be able to create an environment about space for creativity. And I'm just using this as an environmental idea of here's space. And in this case, I've got 5 fundamental things that I think we can try and practice. It's not as simple as just making a calendar appointment for ourselves, because we get there and then we're tired, we're distracted, our equipment's not ready, it's not plugged in, and by the time it is, and by the time we're set up, it can just feel like you've lost any spontaneity or any moment there. So I just want to offer this kind of framework, and it's just the idea that one of the first things we can try to know, these are in an order because this is how space is spelled, but you don't have to action these in any particular order. But the first, the S is going to stand for sanctuary. So making some space. This can be mentally, physically, emotionally. It can be about getting up early in the morning and writing in your journal and starting to unpack a little bit of what's going on in your head. And that in itself is a creative act because you're putting pen to paper, getting away from your phone, making some time just for you. Because all of these things kind of layer up as a foundation, a scaffolding around your creativity to allow it to happen. There's lots of different ways you can do that. It could just be that you actually create a physical space, and set a corner up, or you've got a little. I've seen people with little wheelie trolleys that they can pull out. A while ago, I actually had a little setup over here. Now we've had people to stay, so it flexes, it moves in and out. But I have a little thing set up on my desk right now, so I can turn around and make some music as well. In fact, that was what was playing at the top of the stream. So that's Sanctuary. The next one, I'm just going to fly through these. I'm actually going to potentially do a longer workshop around this, so there's more clarity around it. The next thing I'm going to suggest is that you play. So you lower the barrier to entry. you lower the potential risk, the potential for things failing. You just give yourself a pass. You're not aiming for perfection. You're aiming to have fun. You're aiming to engage in it and to enjoy it, to kind of feel what it's like. Those, the first moments when you start to feel things flowing and connecting. It's easier to get to that place if you're playing, if you're enjoying it, and you're committed to enjoying it. So that could be just setting aside a small amount of time, like maybe 15 minutes, making sure that you're free of obligations and you're not committing to, oh, I'm going to write my book in this 15 minutes, or I'm going to finish my album. It's not like that at all. It's just, I'm going to try a couple of things. Because in my experience of creativity, it's all of those elements where we're trying, we're testing, we're playing, what happens if I do this and then this? I've never tried that before. Or what happens if I try something completely different? And being able to play allows you to reduce the immediacy of having to connect it to an outcome. The only outcome you're looking to do is to have fun, is to play, is to get in there and actually do it. And you're starting to build up a habit of what it can look like to be creative and to be on top of it. Okay, if you've watched any of my videos, that attention is one of the most powerful things, and it's the piece that everyone's fighting for at the moment. Everyone's fighting for your attention, the attention of your eyeballs. You are passing thousands of ads a day, whether that's on the side of trucks, buses, bus stops, whether that's flashing up on your phone, whether it's branding on an app or on the products that we wear. We're being advertised to, and people are trying to draw our attention all day long. And it is possibly the main currency at the moment, and that's why our phones are so beautiful and flashy, and the scroll is so addictive, because they're vying for your attention. But where you put your attention as an artist, as a creative, is really important. If you're able to reclaim some of that attention, and point it in the direction of something worthwhile, so reading a good book, going on a trip to an art gallery, going to a gig, spending time listening to music, or appreciating the art that's around you that you can access. And that's why I've created the Space for Creativity Starter Kit. The digital detox video in there is just some helpful steps in how to put down your phone and to make more space, and to point that attention at things that are going to inspire you and not trigger you, to engage your creativity, and not just have you forwarding memes to a friend. So I think attention is super important for us to think about at the moment. C is for connection. And that connection is connecting to other artists, connecting in collaborative ways, and connecting to mentors, or being able to find connecting in like a wider community of people that you share a practice with. Because then you can find either like collaborators or people to inspire you, but you can also find a way to just rethink how you do what you do. But also know that there are people out there doing it, and it's important, and it's valuable and viable, Um, and then the last one I've got down here is the idea that as we rotate through these modes, that we eventually elevate ourselves. That it's a chance for us to grow, to step up, to work at a new level. So it's almost like a spiral. It's cyclical. It keeps bringing us back around and helping us to think on higher levels and to focus on new things. And I think that's really important, that we're able to think that through and to do that. I actually have a playlist on my channel, and I've gone into each of these in depth in there. So go have a watch of the playlist if you haven't seen them all before. And I'd love to hear in the comments if you've got any thoughts on any of those ideas, if you've tried any of them, if any of them are useful to you, or you know that there's an area there that you struggle to connect to. Okay, let's move on to the voices. Oh my goodness, the voices in our heads. um, and often not so much in our heads as well. But let's dive into. I've got a couple of thoughts here. So there can be many types of critical voices, and I tend to break them down into two categories: internal voices, so the ones that we say about ourselves or believe about ourselves, and then the external voices. What does society believe about it? What does your partner or your family think about your art practice? Your music. What do they think about that? How supportive are they? Because that can often define an awful lot of where we come across this. And here's a couple of ones that I've come across personally, but also in coaching creatives in this area. So some of the four most common negative voices. Art doesn't pay the bills. Now, I'm not going to talk about each of these. I'm just going to say it out loud. We'll get to a little bit about what I believe around this as well. And you're not talented enough. So that could be an internal voice that we're saying it, or it could have been somebody in our past, somebody we loved, or somebody we looked up to, like a school teacher who said, sorry, you're going to have to find another class to go to because this art class is full. And then this is selfish or indulgent. And that could be an internal or an external voice. And then the last one, you'll never finish it anyway. And in my experience, that's an internal voice that I hear. Okay. Because I love starting new things. I get very excited about it. And in the past, I've struggled to finish them, and it's something that I'm definitely working on and definitely making progress, because like this is now the 29th video that I've put up on my YouTube channel in 2025. So I'm definitely finishing things and I'm pushing them out there. Okay. So I know that I'm making progress in this one, and I know that you can too. Okay. And if you look at each of those, and if you believe the voice, they are a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you let that voice in, if you let it connect to what you're trying to do, if those voices, if they win, if they even get in temporarily and distract you and kind of kick you off course, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Which of those things can be true if you believe it to be true? And I think the things that we say to us are so super powerful. Like there are entire books and films, there's entire industries created around the words that we speak of ourselves and speak to ourselves, and how powerful that is. Okay, but now, what do I believe about the voices? I believe, not even I believe, a lot of the people that I've talked to and coached at some point will say, oh, my dad didn't believe in me going to drama school. My parents didn't support that. My teacher told me that I had no musical skills and that I should go find another class to go to, or there wasn't room in the art class for me. And then I think the wider societal story is that that concept is a starving artist. That there's no way that you pursuing your art, even though it feels real and raw and powerful and emotive and life-giving to you, and you know that there's something there, something calling to you, something flowing through you, and you're making something, and you're growing in your skill set and you're growing in your talent and you're learning the tools, and then somebody either close to you says you can't make money doing that, or the society in general has this perception that there isn't a way for people to do that. Although we know that's not true, because there are like multi-million selling music artists, there are world-renowned painters, sculptors, creatives out there who are making more than a living. They are doing really well for themselves. So we know the flip side of that is it's not true. But what I do know about this is this is not a quick fix. This is not just a quick coaching call. Yeah, you can probably jump on a call with me or another coach, and in a week or in 4 weeks, kind of get coached through making some space in your diary and uh, being able to get back to creativity. But any of these voices or any of these deeper experiences, they take so much more time and support and encouragement and, dare I say, love, just a foundational rebuilding of your thoughts about creativity and about how you move forward and how you address them and how you just can work and think through this process. So I think it takes time. It takes a lot more time than we expect. And realistically, I think you could be talking about 6, 9, or 12 months working together to dream up a project and to see it through to fulfillment. And along the way, keep working on your mindset and keep working towards your goals, like getting that album recorded and released, getting a body of work together, whether that's photography or painting, sculpture, physical art, getting that as a body and being able to present it in a gallery or wrap it up and package it in some way that's appropriate to your practice. Or writing a book and either pitching it or self-publishing it. Like those things take time. And I really think that it's helpful to have somebody who's like a mentor, an executive producer to walk along that path and help you through those hurdles. Okay, we're going to move on from this one. So just a couple of frameworks that I thought I'd share with you, just a couple of things that you can try today. Okay, so just some practical frameworks. So one is the idea of a minimal viable creative session. So that would be finding 15 minutes to sit down and do some work. Now, to be able to do this, you kind of need to have established your space, your tools. You definitely need to, have a practice that you're already comfortable in. Because just sitting down and tinkling on a piano and you don't know what you're doing, you're not necessarily there to learn. You're there to try and explore, to trying to get into the flow, to trying to um, get moving in some way. Now, the amazing thing about 15 minutes is you can connect and you can find flow, but you're not going to get anything completed. So it's really reducing that barrier to entry. You might want to try 30 minutes, whatever you're able to squeeze into your diary, but actually just doing that. And then trying to build that and try it again and again and again. So maybe once a week, maybe twice a week, maybe a few more times. It's a really valuable way to just to go, I'm just going to do this a little bit, just see how I get on. You're not aiming at a specific output apart from sitting down to do it and really trying to enjoy it, trying to be present, trying to engage in it. And then the next one I'm going to suggest is an environment reset. Thankfully, like I said, we've had guests come and stay, so I've had to clear everything out of here, and this room feels light and breezy and airy, and there's hardly any of my gear around. I literally have 3 pieces of music gear sat right over there. That's it. There's no more. Everything else is being boxed up. It's stored away, and I feel free and unencumbered. It feels lovely. So I would suggest that even spend 5 or 10 minutes today and sit down at your space, clear your desk, put your things away, put your papers away, sort your books, sort out your cabling, organize yourself so that the next time you come to sit down and work, it's going to feel like it's going to flow quicker. You're not making space to make it happen. You're just going to you're just going to be able to sit down and work in a much more quicker and efficient way. And the last one I was going to talk about is accountability. I think this one is really big for artists, and who you're accountable to is really important. If someone that you're asking to be accountable to doesn't understand you, doesn't understand what you're trying to achieve, then it's really hard to set any sort of metric that is going to mean anything or feel like anything to you. What I mean when I say that is when we're at work, you know, there's a specific A plus B equals C. And we continue to do that a number of times. It could be that there's a recipe and the amount of times we do the recipe equals a specific output. Creativity, in my experience, doesn't always work like that. Because there's so many diverse elements that we pull in, that we test and we try, and there's failures, but maybe we learn from it. Maybe in a positive way we learn, as in, oh, I would do that again, I might do differently. Or there's also the flip side of that is you might go, oh, I'm never doing that again. That color and that color just don't go together. Or this soundscape or this chord sequence. You need to have freedom to do that. So having somebody to be accountable to that understands your practice is so helpful, because it can be as simple as saying, I, yeah, really, I spent 15 minutes um, doing the first exercise, the minimum viable creative strategy, and that's enough. Because sometimes, like traditional accountability, and systems don't always work for creatives because it can feel too rigorous and too boxed in. Like accountability in the creative realm should feel like a celebration. It should feel like support. It should feel like how you want to share that win, not just that there's any specific outcome from it, but maybe there's something important that you learned, and how do you unpack that, and how do you think that through, and how do you figure that out? Like there's a lot going on there, and finding the right person to be accountable. So in my case, I've got I'm part of a collective that is a wider, could probably be called a band, but there's 5 of us. And I know if that I share, I'm going to try and do something, that I can be accountable to any of the people there, because they kind of get it. They get me. They get the creative energy. Maybe there's groups or forums that you're part of that you can start posting things up and saying what you're trying to do. Or maybe you're able to find somebody to work with, a coach or a guide, and you can be accountable with them, a therapist. There's just a couple ideas around accountability and a couple of things that you can start to think through. Okay. I'd love you to have a think about, one, what questions you have, and if you have any, please fire them in the chat. And two, what one thing could you do today for 5, 10, 15 minutes? Whether that's find somebody to be accountable to, spend 5 minutes cleaning up your space, so that the next time you get to sit down, that it's going to feel more welcoming, more inviting, and more ready. Or can you actually carve out that time for a minimal viable creative session? So just what could you do in 15 or 30 minutes? When can you do it? How can you make it happen? Can that even happen today? Can you find that space and time? And can you communicate that to those around you so that you're able to have that space uninterrupted? Alrighty. I'd love to hear from you if you've got any questions. So let me check the chat. Okay, I'm going to put me back on the screen and go have a look in chat. Bear with me. Any questions? Okay. Anyone who's watching, let me know where you're watching from. And if you've got any questions, I'd love to hear them. Let me check one other spot. Okay. I can't see any questions now, but if you have any, you can leave. If you have any other questions, you can leave them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you in the comments, or maybe I'll make another video responding to your specific request. Okay, awesome. I have really enjoyed this. Don't forget that there'll be a link in the description and probably in one of the pinned comments about the digital detox. So if you want to get space for your creativity, if you haven't done it already, sign up for my digital detox and I'll email that out to you. It also comes with a PDF and a checklist. And then a couple of days after that, I'll send you on a PDF around 7 types of rest, just so you can continue to build that foundation and that environment where you're able to connect to your creativity. All right. I'd love to hear how you're getting on with any of these things. So share your progress in the comments. And if you've got any other questions or comments, you can leave them down below. All right, last call for questions. Okay. Hey, thanks everyone for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day. You take care. Bye now.